First and foremost, is to say welcome to Pej's Recovery Corner. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon, 2 p.m. I'm here today with my friend Tye Helmer. Helmer, right?
Yes, sir.
Just want to make sure I'm saying it correctly. Tye, welcome to the corner. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
We've been talking about having you come on for a while now.
Yeah.
And finally, we're making it happen. You are in a trailer right now. Where?
Up near Carpinteria, which is right around Santa Barbara area. I've been camping with my youngest son.
Nice. Okay. Well, this is a recovery podcast. We talk about all things recovery or lack thereof. And I know that you're a man of recovery. I know you've been sober, 4 years now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. First and foremost, I want to learn about Tye. Where did you grow up? Where are you from originally? Where'd you grow up? And then we'll get into other stuff. But who's Tye Helmer?
Who's Tye Helmer? Well, I'm me. I actually grew up in Covina, not far from the 502 Club. 502 Club. Anyways, grew up in Covina. Came from a fairly average home. My parents both worked. My mom had a pizza place when I was young. I played all kinds of sports. And, I don't know. Then we moved. They separated when I was 12, and then we moved to Laverne. Did some of my high school in Laverne, some of it at Rosemead. My parents divorced at that point. And, I don't know.
How old were you when they got divorced?
They separated when I was 12. I believe they divorced when I was 14.
And did that mess with you, or were you fine with it?
No, that was train wreck. That was a huge focal point in my life that every time I talk about recovery, nothing makes you an alcoholic or a drug addict. But I do believe that there's things that happen that they have an impact on you. And that was definitely one of them.
So did this make you, how old were you when you first started drinking?
Well, that's a whole nother story. So my mom owned her pizza place, and I was a smart ass young man who knew everything. And the kids that worked for her, she used to let them party in the back of the pizza place after they were closed. And they thought it would be fun to get the owner's 8-year-old son plastered one night. So I not only had like my first drink, but I was drunk and passed out on the floor throwing up at 8 years old. That was
8 years old.
8 years old. That was my first experience with a drunk.
Was it beer?
It was. It was.
Okay. And then and that just progressed, or were you just like a regular drinker right away, or just drinking here and there?
No, it took me a long time to get to the point where I could identify with certain things, certain aspects of an alcoholic. And I had alcoholic tendencies and feelings from the get-go, from as long as I can remember. The separation, separatism, or wanting to be a part of all these different things. And I was an excessively adventurous kid. So I think I tried cigarettes at 5, and, I stole one of my grandpa's cigarettes. And then my dad would have people over they would work on cars and stuff, and I'd steal sips off of his beer. But after that drunk, a couple of things happened for me. One, I liked the way it felt until I was throwing up, obviously. And then 2, it made me feel a part of, because these were all older, like late teenage years, early 20s kids. And all they ever did was give me crap because I was the owner's smart ass kid. And at that point, I felt a part of. I felt that camaraderie. And it was pretty much off and running from that point forward. Every time I could get a hold of liquor, I drank. Then started trying outside issues at 10.
In other words, when you say outside issues, do you mean drugs?
I mean drugs.
What kind of drugs were you doing?
Stoned off my ass at 10 years old. And then I think I was 12 when I first tried cocaine.
Oh, okay. And then what happened?
And I chased the high and the feeling of camaraderie for years. That was my life story. I got moved from back up. I was in fourth grade. They tested me for my intelligence level, and back in the 1800s where I grew up, actually it was the 1970s. They had a program called Mentally Gifted Minors, the MGM program, and that was the predecessor to the GATE program, which I think is pretty what people call it now. Anyway, so they pulled me out of my normal grade school and put me in a special cool school for smart kids, and that was a whole train wreck in itself.
Why?
Because you cross intelligence with rebellion, and you just get a messed up kid.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So let me get this straight. You were living in Laverne, but before that you were from where? Covina?
Yeah.
If people don't know where that's at, that's kind of like, that's not the IE, but it's like on the way to the IE. It's sort of still LA County, right?
Yeah, that is LA County.
It's like, it's not the high desert, it's not even the desert yet, but it's like it gets hot out there in the summertime, and it's a little bit east of Los Angeles, it's a little bit north of Orange County.
Yes, exactly.
All right. So they just knew that you were gifted, like you were talented, you were smart, and they put you into that type of program, and you were already actively using and drinking?
Yeah.
When did it become a problem? Well, after your parents divorced, did you go off the Richter?
Yeah, pretty much. That was when I started doing pretty much anything I could get my hands on. That was when, I don't know, huffing was real big back then, so we were doing that, and that was like when crack started, so we were doing that. I tried pretty much everything on purpose except for heroin and PCP, but I ended up trying PCP on accident a couple of times, and that was I didn't want to do those because I had friends that did those drugs, and they said, look, if you do these and you're in a mentally screwed up spot, you're going to have a bad trip. And I was in a perpetually screwed up mental spot for a long time, so I didn't want to try them. And the one time I inadvertently tried or smoked a bunch of marijuana that was laced with PCP, I ended up in convulsions on the floor, bashing my head on a brick fireplace. So I don't know if that's normal for PCP use or not, but
PCP takes you in all different directions. It definitely is a drug to be reckoned.
yeah.
Let me ask you this question. So when you said the 70s, you were talking about that. What year were you born?
68.
Okay, so you're a few years older than me. You're 53?
52.
52 years old. All right. So during that time, obviously, was there a heroin craze? Was there kids doing heroin, or was it not even that popular around where you were at?
I didn't really hear about it, to be honest. I know we moved from Covina to Laverne after my 8th grade the summer after my 8th grade graduation. So I believe I was between 13 and 14. My birthday's in December, so it was the summer before I turned 14.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember starting to hear about more stuff like that.
Like heroin use. Yeah.
Heroin. Yeah.
But that was never your get down.
No, sure wasn't.
Okay. And then, so what, into your young adulthood, 18 and over, what was life like?
Life was one big party. Like everything in my life revolved around my drinking.
Partying.
And and it's interesting because I hear the term alcohol purist and the other term trash can, and I really fell in between. I didn't actively seek out drugs. I loved alcohol. I loved the way it made me feel. But I sure as hell wasn't going to turn anything else down if I was at a party and it was offered. And I don't know, my dad had opened up a health club in Rancho Cucamonga, and I managed that from the time I was 18 till I was about 21, inadvertently getting fired because I was drinking there every night.
At a health club.
Yeah, nothing like having the manager of the health club with a vodka and tonic behind the counter trying to sell you a membership.
Yeah, and you probably were selling it anyway.
No, I
Doing a
wouldn't.
good, probably doing a good job at that. So, so during that time, I know that you have 5 kids, right?
Mhm.
How old were you when you first started having kids?
I
Young?
was 26 when I had my first son.
Okay, okay. So that's kind of like an average age to start
Yeah.
thinking about having kids. So basically, like between 18 and 26, it was just party central. And then during when you were 26, were you married? Did you have your first kid with a wife, or did you just have a kid?
So here's what happened. So I was in my early 20s, and my 20 and 21, and I had been in a relationship for about 2.5 years, and I was in an alcoholic relationship, so I wasn't the best guy, and she drank a lot too, or whatever. But we had done okay together up to that point, and then I came home one afternoon in early June of 1992, and she says, I believe this was on a Wednesday. She says, I'm going to my uncle's in Huntington Beach for the weekend. And I said,
Mhm.
all right, cool, whatever. So she leaves, comes back home that Sunday, and she's all tan and whatever. And she walks in and says, we're breaking up. You're an alcoholic. And I'm like, not shocked, but kind of that what? And she says, I actually didn't go to my uncle's. I went on a river rafting trip with some people from AA, and you're an alcoholic. And that was a crushing blow to me because, even though I knew the truth, I mean, we were 16, 17 years old as kids drinking, laughing, going, oh, yeah, we're alcoholics, but I never really believed it. I was a functioning alcoholic. I went to work, even though I got fired. I still
Right.
showed up for stuff, even though I didn't show up half the time. Kind of that mentality of, lying to myself because I wanted to be what I couldn't be at that point. Anyway, so that was on a Sunday. The following Saturday, so I moved back into my mom's house, right? And
And you were
the
how old at this time?
pardon me,
How old were you at this time?
I'm 22.
Okay.
So the following Sunday, I wake up hungover because I had partied Saturday night, and I started thinking about what that girl had said. You're an alcoholic. You're an alcoholic. And I went, Jesus Christ, maybe I really am an alcoholic. And I was all broken up over the loss of relationships. So I looked up Alcoholics Anonymous, and I literally walked into a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous June 14th of 1992.
Okay.
And
So that was your first experience with a recovery-based 12-step program.
yeah,
So what happened?
I did the deal and stayed sober for 10 years.
Are you kidding me? I did not know that.
Yeah, I was sober for 10 years between 92 and 2002. Did everything that I was supposed to do, everything that was suggested, until I got well at about 9 years sober.
What does that mean till I got well at about 9 years sober? Because if you said that you did everything that was suggested and you were doing the deal, does that mean, let's say that in a 12-step program, you worked all 12 steps, you had an awakening?
No, that means that after 9 years, I got too busy for Alcoholics Anonymous, and
Complacent.
quit doing, yeah, complacent, exactly, and quit doing what was suggested.
So what happened?
Well, the company I was working for moved me up to Central California. I was running a division of an energy management company out of the Bay Area, and was married at that time. So when I say I have 5 sons, my oldest technically is from the marriage that I'm going to talk about right now.
Okay.
And then I had one before too. So I had those 2, then I had 2 with her, and the next one comes down the road. Anyway, so we had moved up to the Bay Area, had, this company put all their faith in me to run their $8 million division of their company, helped us get a house. The whole get down, that all that material crap you get when you're showing up. And
Right.
I had taken off in June of 2002 to have back surgery, and my wife took a job 3 months later, caught her cheating on me. Had back surgery December 27th of 2002. Got separated from her in February of 2003. And inadvertently lost my job in June of 2003 due to not being able to function through all of this chaos that was going on in my life.
So then the back surgery, did they give you pain meds?
Yeah, but I had, once I caught my wife drinking, I backing up. Once I caught my wife cheating, she was having an affair with her boss. That kind of pushed me to the edge because I didn't have any program. Once I moved up to the Bay Area, I lived in a small town called Tracy, and it's right near Modesto. Anyways, there was only like one meeting in that town, and it was a Spanish speaking meeting. And I was super swamped with work trying to get this division of this company up and going, and just literally failed to do what I was supposed to do. I failed to seek out Alcoholics Anonymous. And because of the distance, I had let go of my sponsees that were down in Southern California. And when that happened, between my back and I was never a pill guy. So like they had prescribed stuff for me, but I took it even in my sobriety exactly as it was prescribed. And they'd give me a prescription of 30 Vicodin, and I would have them 3 months later because I wasn't a pill guy. Plus I was trying to do, be a sober member. But anyways, when all that happened, that was just too much for me because I didn't have any, I had closed the toolbox, let's just say.
Okay. So you're off to the races again, and that lasted for how long?
15 years.
My God. And did it get really bad during that 15 years, or were you doing some controlled drinking?
I was attempting to do controlled drinking, but it was a matter of I'm an alcoholic, and I really gave some effort to not drink, to controlling it, not to not drinking, but to controlling it. And I think the longest in 15 years I ever lasted was about 6 days.
To not drink.
What
would happen during those 6 days? Were you going through DTs, delirium tremens, hallucinating, anything like that, alcohol poisoning?
I would go crazy. I mean, there was times that I was so agitated. I remember leaving work one day. I think I was even actively, like, on a daily basis drinking, but I remember leaving work one day, told my guys I'd be back. And I was so, they call it restless and irritable and discontent. And I was so wound up over nothing. I couldn't, I needed it. And I left work, went to the bar and drank all the way through to the next day, and ended up like, my guys didn't know what was going on. They're calling me. I'm ignoring them. The client was pissed off, never did go back and finish that job. Just, stuff like that was kind of an extreme for me because I've always been real business minded and tried to make sure that I did what I was supposed to do as far as my clients. But there wasn't a day that went by that I was not like actively in my head about drinking. I needed it.
So alcoholism was starting to get in the way of the workplace. It was starting to get in the way of everyday life. You couldn't function normally. A lot of people talk about, I was a functioning alcoholic, but how does one function when internally they're falling apart? And then they're also drowning it all out with alcohol,
Yeah. And that's what it is. It's a matter, like, it's like the exterior, because I had done what, been in business for a long time and done that. The exterior, I could go through the motions, but there was no quality to anything I do. I'd show up on a job site and half-assed stuff. And I really don't even know how I kept my business afloat for the years that I was actively drinking.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've sent me some pictures, and I'm just going to put it up here to the camera. Hold on. If anybody sees this, let's see. Let's try to, hold on. So you're laying in a hospital bed. Hold it. There. There's stuff on your chest. I see right here this. What the hell is going on here? How did all this happen?
Well, that was that was a really bad weekend. So I had my fifth son, and his mom and I split up. A couple of years later, I met a girl, and you know how I shouldn't generalize, but I meet somebody and it's like, oh, this is the one. You know, fell madly in love with this girl, and we lasted about 3 years. I moved her in. She lived in Maui. I moved her in from Maui, and you know, I had told her my past and these failed relationships and why they had failed, and about 3 years later, we were just not getting along. You know, it was bad. And one night I'm laying in bed and I woke up and something told me to check her phone. And I'm not that guy. Like, I had never looked at her phone in the 3 years we were together, and opened her phone up and there's some lewd pictures from another guy. And so we have this big blowout, and I was heartbroken, you know, I because it's all about me. Not no mention of any of my behaviors, but it's all about me. And so she moved out, and I went on a bender that was just horrid. I don't think I drew a sober breath from June. This is 2016. Those pictures are from June of 2016 until the end of October. And so those pictures are from June 23rd, 2016. I had gone out the night before with a buddy of mine who's actually a detective from Maui, and he was at a reunion, whatever, and this is right in our hometown. Mm-hmm. And we drank and everything was good, you know, and we left, and he was staying at my house, and we stopped and picked up a bottle of Jack Daniels on the way home, and got to my place, and I think I had one drink, went to bed, and I woke up at, I don't know, 6:30 in the morning, and the girl and I started going back and forth, and I started pounding that bottle of Jack Daniels, and next thing I remember, I'm firing off a round out of my 45 into my ceiling, and it's really weird because I have processed this so many times, because we give these talks and it's replayed, and I don't know, it's a trip. So I fired off a round from my 45 into my ceiling. My buddy comes up and he's like, you know, freaks out, and he leaves. And about 30 minutes later, cops are beating on my door, and I was not coming out. Long story short, I had barricaded myself in my home, and was either going to kill a cop or die by suicide by cop. I had become homicidal and suicidal, and was done with everything. I remember sitting on my floor in my bedroom and put my 45 in my mouth, and I couldn't pull the trigger, but I knew that somebody was going to die that day. And I remember justifying, like, all of my kid going through my mom will be okay, my dad will be okay, you know, all of my sons will be okay. And then at one point, and I don't remember all of this. This is coming from the detectives who did an investigation afterwards. At one point, I had my 45 and I had an AR-15, and I crawled out on I had a balcony outside my bedroom that was about 16 by 30, and perched across from me was the exact same floor plan looking back at me. And we lived in these condos, and the balconies are about 15 feet apart.
Right.
I had crawled out on my balcony under cover of the edge of the balcony, and I don't remember pointing my weapons at the SWAT team that was adjacent to me, but I stood up, and I remember having my 45 in my right hand pointing down and my AR in my left hand. But I stood up, and as soon as I crested that balcony wall, I hear pop, and I got hit in the chest, and it hit me, but I put my fingers inside my chest. It was a pretty interesting situation. So I grab my chest and I'm standing there and I look at the cop. I hear him say, "Got him." And I look across at the cop and I go, "I can't fucking believe you shot me."
Oh my
And
God.
then I collapsed to my knees. And as soon as I hit my knees, SWAT came in from behind me. They were, I guess, had breached the house and whatever. And one cop runs up and pushes me forward and says, "What else are you on?" And the bottle of Jack Daniels was just sitting behind me. I said, "Nothing, just that." And then another cop comes over and he squats down to the right of me and puts his hand on my shoulder. And I looked him in the face and I said, "So this is how it ends. I'm never going to see my kids again." And I think between God and that one sentence, that's what saved my life. I think at that moment they had a little bit of compassion for me, and tried to help me instead of, I mean, I have a lot of friends that are cops and several that are SWAT, and I'm not supposed to be alive right now. They don't usually even shoot for the chest.
Especially because you were armed.
Yeah. So at that point, I do remember pulling. I had a treadmill just to my left. I remember pulling myself up on my treadmill and kind of walking towards my sliding glass door to my bedroom, and then I collapsed. And then I've actually acquired some of these odd, like photographic memories from different things. I remember going down the stairs on the gurney, and I'm claustrophobic, and I remember them having me all strapped down and going down upside down with my head down on the gurney, like going down the stairs, head down. I remember that. I remember being in the helicopter going to USC. And everything's kind of blurry from that point on. I was in and out of consciousness, and I had finished that bottle of Jack Daniels. So between being shot and shock and the alcohol, I don't remember a whole lot. There's not a lot of detail.
Right. So, wow. I mean, I felt your emotions definitely in what you told that cop. I'm sitting here trying to just gather it all in my mind and think to myself, he's been cheated on by his wife. He caught his other girl. It seems like there was a pattern there. You can definitely victimize yourself in that and make it an excuse to drink. But then again, who knows the behaviors that were behind them wanting to be with other people?
Right.
Like you never
Sure.
know. It could have just been you in alcoholism. Regardless of the fact, that it's very powerful, like to see that you'd already been in the program before, and then to go back out and just to see how alcoholism has no limitations. It has no mercy. When you're in it and you're engulfed in it, it gets you, and it seems like it just has you by the neck, and there's no getting out unless you really decide to quit.
Right. And I mean, the statement, "It gets worse, never better," I'm a living testament to that. And I think there's a lot of people out there that are. But
Absolutely.
It's
not some cute little statement that we just say in the rooms. It really does get fucking worse.
absolutely.
I mean, I never hear about people that come into recovery that their lives were totally fucked up, and then they come and they get some recovery and they put some recovery under their belt, and then all of a sudden they go back out and they come back and say it was great, it was wonderful, everything was
Right.
good.
Right.
No, it becomes a shit show, a complete shit show. And the fact that you lasted for 15 more years out there, just drowning. I'm sure just drowning in it, right? But for it to end like that says a lot.
It's an amazing thing, because so the pictures you saw are from November 26th, about November 26th ish. I had I was so in my own head over everything. I wouldn't let anybody come see me at the hospital. Like I said, I have a lot of police friends, and they saw it. They knew when there's an officer involved shooting. So like all the departments, El Monte, Los Angeles, San Bernardino, all my sheriff buddies, they all knew that it was me, but I wouldn't let anybody come. The only people that I allowed to come to the hospital were my mom, my dad, and my stepmom. My two sisters did come one time, and then ironically, my youngest son's mom and him. And I was so ashamed. There's so many awesome terms that I've learned in Alcoholics Anonymous. Pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization, and like, gosh,
You felt that.
Oh man, it was just I felt it a lot, but
Yeah.
at that point, I could not face anybody. I couldn't face anybody. I was so destroyed inside and so embarrassed. And it's like my friends looked up to me because I'm a bigger guy, and they look up to
Oh, I
me,
noticed you're a pretty well built guy.
the tough guy,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And for me to get taken out by people that like I admire and look up to, I'm like blue line.
Cops.
And
Yeah.
it's just amazing. It's amazing the feelings that we go through.
Okay, so that scar that's across your chest, I mean, those are stitches I saw, right?
Yeah, I had so I was in 13 hours, I think 12 or 13 hours of surgery. That incident happened on October 23rd, 2016, and I was in 12 or 13 hours of surgery that night, and then they stabilized me. I actually died in the helicopter on the way there, and then I died on the table, and they were able to resuscitate me both times. They actually had a doctor, the ER doctor from the hospital, fly with me in the helicopter to keep me alive going to USC. And then,
Wow.
so I died in the helicopter, died on the table, 12 hours of surgery, and that was on Sunday. And then Tuesday, they went back in, and I did another 8 or 10 hours of surgery. And so what happened was when the cop shot me, the SWAT guy shot me, the bullets entered from the side, and there was 2 rounds, which I thought were 223, but I later found out they were 5.56 rounds, which was a pretty damaging bullet.
Right.
So the bullets hit my heart, my lungs, my liver, my kidney. It like just shredded my insides. So they had to. That scar goes from one side all the way across to the other and down. And it's called like a clamshell something or other. I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Right.
But yeah. So I lost half a lung. And that's aside from they had to cut my complete chest cavity off. So like they do like an open heart surgery, they split you down the center and pull your ribs back. Well, mine were shattered on this side, so they cut the whole thing off and then put it back together with little wires. So my whole chest plate is kind of one piece. I don't really have ribs anymore, which is really odd to kind of lean against things. It's strange, but yeah. So they at day 10 in the ICU. I kept telling them I wanted to go home, and they had given me some criteria that I had to meet before I could go home. And then I got an infection that they couldn't cure. And I started declining again. And then they did a culture of this infection and actually created an antibiotic to kill it.
Wow.
That was on day, I think that happened on day 12 or 13, on day 12 maybe. And then they told me there was a couple of things I had to do before I could leave. One of them being walk around the entire nurse's station, which obviously isn't very far, but it was pretty far for a guy who hadn't been out of bed in 16 days or 17 days. But yeah, so I did those things and they sent me home. I think I came home on the 18th day. 17th day I was in the hospital. 18th day I came home, and then I rehabbed myself. Walking from like I was at back to my mom's, right? Where do we go when we're down and out? Run to mom's.
Right.
But I rehabbed myself walking from the couch. I was sleeping on the couch to the bathroom, back and forth, then the couch to the front door, and then out the front door down the driveway. And so you go out my mom's front door and you make a right, go down the driveway. It was a fourplex of condominiums, and then you make another right and there's a school. Well, if you make a left, there's a bar. And 12 days after I got out of the hospital, I was in the hospital and it was great because they had me full of morphine and Norco, and I didn't really feel anything. And that discomfort hadn't kicked in yet. But 12 days out of the hospital, instead of making a right and walking towards the school, I made a left and walked right back into the bar and continued to drink
So you fucking drank after all this?
Drank. I couldn't not drink. I was a train wreck inside.
Okay, so the pictures that you say were in November, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What happened after you drank? How much longer were you out?
About 6 months. So from that incident, I picked up a felony case, and inadvertently was sentenced to a year in sober living.
I have a feeling I know which sober living.
One of the best.
La Puente House, right? I love them. I believe in them. They're good people, good philosophies, good teachings over there. I'm so happy. My one of my dearest mentors actually used to do groups there.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. Um, and I know the owner, and I know you know the owner very, very well. So you were sentenced to sober living rather than having to go to prison or jail, correct?
yeah. They wanted me to do 8 years in prison, and my attorney ended up getting me sentenced to the Pointy House.
Okay, so this is the part that really matters to me a lot. I mean, all of that gnarly, like wow, I'm blown away. But did you? How long into your sentence in sober living did you take this fucking shit seriously? Where was the shift in perception and behavior and attitude?
You know, I I drank the night before I checked myself into the Pointy House,
Of course you did.
and I got there the next day, and I remember thinking, okay, I'm gonna try and get sober. And as you know, with sober livings, there's mandatory meetings, and it was the strangest thing because I got sober in Glendora, which is like 7 minutes from Covina, but I had never been to Covina in all the years that I did meetings up in Glendora.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you honestly, Paige, from my heart, when I walked into that meeting, that first meeting back, and I sat down in the chair, I knew I was home. I knew that it was a place that I should have never left. I knew that I would find love and compassion there, and help, and the answers to my problems. And I don't know. I knew I was home.
And that's it. You just took it. You took it by the horns.
I jumped in with both feet and my heart and soul. They say do 90 and 90 meetings in 90 days. I was doing 30 to 35 meetings a week for a year.
Good. I think it was around that time I probably met you too.
I believe so. I believe you spoke there with a couple other people. I think I had like 3 months sober.
Yeah, I think it was that one where four of us go and
Exactly.
give little talks.
Yeah.
And I remember when I met you, I thought, this guy has a good spirit about him. He's a nice guy. He's well built. After all the shit that happened with the SWAT team and you having to recuperate, I mean, you're a pretty built guy. You're resilient. Like, are you able to still lift? Because you look like you're in great shape.
Yes. The answer to the question is yes. I just, I'm when I was making amends to one of my sons, he lives out of state, lives in Michigan. I was making amends to my boy, and we were actually together for his brother's graduation from the Navy Academy.
Mm-hmm.
Not the one in the Navy, but the other one. We're driving back to my hotel so I could drop him off so he could get in his car and go home. And I'm making amends to him, and he says, "Dad, the only thing that that kills me is you're the one who's always said never quit. You're the one who always preached never give up, and you gave up." And that's just how I am. I don't know why. God built me to be a person that doesn't quit. I don't give up. And I've suffered some physical issues since being shot because I pushed so hard to keep myself in shape. And like the last couple of years with COVID, I've really slacked off, but I just started back again. And it's there's no competition like competition with yourself.
Absolutely. We're our own worst enemies and critics.
Absolutely.
Oh, you're a beautiful man. You're such a kind soul. All of this that you're describing, it's interesting. I would have never known. I would have never known until you told me. And it's funny, like the lifestyle I have right now, a lot of people often tell me, like, when they hear my story or they hear about how fucked off I was, they're like, I could never picture that with you. I'm like, you have no idea.
Right.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
I was worse than even what I could even describe it, and not just worse on the outer appearance. It's about what was going on the inside. And so it's so nice to see you taking this thing seriously, and it's a beautiful thing. And now you have a construction company. Is that something that started in recovery?
No, I actually started that when I was a couple of years after I had gone out back in 2006.
Okay. So during the time that you were like in the sober living and all that, was the company kind of running itself, or were you still working there?
I was still able to work there. Everything had. I mean, I lost everything. I lost my home. I lost everything when all of this happened, and the only thing that kind of hung on was my company. I had a couple of good employees, and then two of my sons stepped in to help as well. So they kind of kept it afloat until there was, and it was only a few week period between when I was shot. They did that, and then when I checked in and wasn't allowed to work and stuff, and then it just really got scaled back. I mean, like, I was doing next to nothing, but it was enough to get me by and to keep the name out there and stuff. And yeah. So.
And how's life now? You're obviously present in your sons' lives, right?
Oh, absolutely. They're everything to me. I'm so extremely blessed. Good.
You are so lucky to be alive after that cop shot you. It was one shot, right?
It was two.
Two shots. You are so lucky. I mean, really, God saw a purpose for you to live.
I believe that with all my heart and soul, and whatever that is, whether it's to, be of service in Alcoholics Anonymous and help one man, or, give somebody a job, or whatever it may be, I'm good with that. As long as I can continue to help people and, be an example for people that may see something like this. It's never too late to change your life, ever.
Never, ever. You're right. And you still are, do you still volunteer at the Puente House?
All of the COVID stuff really shut that down, but so Carl is my sponsor. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Yes.
But I actually just talked to him this last week and said, hey, I need to be more involved. I'm like, what can I do? Well, so hopefully there'll be something that comes up here in the near future, open up some of their daytime meetings that I can squeeze in and get in there and do that.
Awesome. Well, this has been powerful. It's been a great experience to hear about you and see what all you've been through. I believe that's, we titled this Transformation Through Alcoholism, the miracles. I mean, it's truly a miracle that you are where you are right now in your life. Forget about getting shot. It's about, you're already dying inside.
Absolutely.
The physical doesn't matter so much when the spiritual is obsolete.
I talk about that all the time. It's all of our stories are unique, but they're just stories. What brings us together and unifies us as alcoholics and drug addicts is the feelings that we've experienced during our downfalls. And I truly think that is why these programs work.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I love it. And I love you. And thank you for coming on the podcast today. It's been so good to hear from you, and I will keep in touch with you. We need to hang out. You're my type of dude. I like hanging out with guys like you.
I'm so grateful for the opportunity, and yeah, absolutely. You let me know when and where, and I'll be there.
Okay, wonderful. Awesome. Have a good rest of your Sunday, and it was good having you on, and talk to you soon.
Thank you, brother. Take care.